How your car payment became the most profitable scam in American history. Picture this. You're sitting in a small glass office under fluorescent light, and a man in a cheap tie slides a single sheet of paper across the desk. He does not want to talk about the price of the car. He does not want to talk about the interest rate. He wants to ask you one question over and over in a dozen different ways for the next 40 minutes. What payment are you comfortable with? That sentence is the most expensive question in American life, and most people answer it without ever realizing they already lost. Because the moment you start thinking in monthly payments instead of total cost, you have handed the dealership a blank check with your future signature on it. Here is the part nobody tells you at 18, when you get your first car and your first taste of freedom. A car is not an investment. It is not even close. An investment grows. A car begins dying the second the engine turns over. Drive a brand new vehicle off the lot, and in the time it takes you to merge onto the highway, it has already lost 10 to 20% of its value. Do that with a stock, and you would call your broker in a panic. Do it with a car, and you pose for a photo in the driveway. We have been trained, generation after generation, to celebrate the exact moment we start losing money. And the dealership knows this better than you do. That is why they built an entire sales system around hiding the real number from you. It is called the Foursquare, and it has been used since the 1920s. Price, down payment, trade-in value, and monthly payment, all four boxes juggled at once, so that no matter how bad the deal is, they can always make the payment look small enough to swallow. Stretch a loan from 5 years to 7, and suddenly a truck you cannot afford looks affordable. This is the entire reason the 84-month car loan exists. It is not a convenience. It is a magic trick that hides the fact that you will be paying interest on a vehicle that is already rusting before you're halfway through the loan. Now, you might be telling yourself, I need something reliable. I'm not buying a status symbol. I just need to get to work. Fair enough. But here is the revelation that the auto industry spends billions of dollars a year making sure you never connect. Reliability and expense are not the same thing. A 3 or 4-year-old sedan has already had its recalls issued, its early defects fixed, and its depreciation cliff absorbed by someone else. You're not buying a worse car. You are buying the exact same car, with almost its entire useful life still ahead of it, for a fraction of what the first owner paid to find out it was reliable. Somebody else paid the tuition. You get the diploma for free. Let's actually add up what car costs, because the sticker price is a lie by omission. Take a $40,000 new vehicle. Add sales tax, and you're already down a few $1,000s before you have driven a single mile. Finance it at today's rates over 6 years, and you'll hand the bank close to $10,000 in pure interest, money that builds no equity and buys you nothing but time. New cars cost more to insure. They cost more to fix because a cracked bumper sensor on a modern vehicle is not a $50 part. It is a $1,500 recalibration. Stack the tax, the interest, the insurance, and the depreciation together, and that $40,000 car will quietly cost you closer to $70,000 over 5 years, while the car itself is worth a fraction of that when you're done. You did not buy a car. You rented one at a brutal markup and called it ownership. But the real number, the one that should actually keep you up at night, is not what left your bank account. It is what never got the chance to grow. Take the average new car payment in America today, somewhere around $700 a month. Now imagine a 25-year-old who skips that entirely, buys a dependable used car with cash, and instead invests that same $700 every month into an index fund for the next 35 years. At a modest 8% average return, that habit alone grows into somewhere around $1.5 million by retirement. Read that again. The difference between financing a new car every few years and simply not doing it is not a few $1,000s. It is a 7-figure retirement account built entirely from money you never actually needed to spend. And it gets worse before it gets better, because of a trap most people fall into without ever seeing the walls close in. It is called negative equity, and it works like this. You owe more on your car than it is worth. So when you trade it in, the dealer quietly rolls that leftover debt into your next loan. Now you are financing your new car and the ghost of your old one at the same time. Do this 2 or 3 times over a decade, and you can end up paying a mortgage-sized monthly payment for what is underneath all the debt, a Honda Civic. You are not driving a car anymore. You are dragging a chain of every bad decision you have ever made about a car. It gets heavier every time you trade up. So why do smart, hardworking people keep falling for this? 2 reasons, and they're both psychological rather than financial. The first is fear, engineered by decades of marketing that tells you a smaller, older, cheaper car makes you a worse parent, a worse provider. The data does not support that story. Safety improvements plateaued years ago, and a well-maintained 5-year-old car protects your family almost as well as a brand new one. The second reason is status. You cannot wear your investment portfolio to the grocery store, but you can drive it there. And so the car becomes the billboard for a wealth that, for most people financing it, does not actually exist yet. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Nobody who sees your new SUV on the highway is impressed by you. They are imagining themselves in it. You are financing someone else's daydream. And if you think leasing is the smart way to dodge all of this, it is actually the opposite. Leasing means you finance a car during the exact years it loses the most value, then hand it back right before it becomes cheap to own, and start the cycle again with nothing to show for it. It is a permanent subscription to depreciation. And in 2026, the trap has gotten even more aggressive. Manufacturers now charge monthly fees for features that already exist inside the car you paid for. Heated seats, extra horsepower, unlocked remotely for a price. You're not just financing a depreciating asset anymore. You are renting your own steering wheel. So it actually works. Let the first owner take the hit. Buy a car that is 3 to 5 years old. Once the steepest part of the depreciation curve is behind it, pay it off as fast as you can, and then drive it until it genuinely falls apart. The years after that loan is gone are the years that matter most, because that is when the payment you used to send to a bank starts going into your own account instead. That is the real trade you are making every time you sign for a car, not dollars for metal. Years of your future freedom for a few years of somebody else noticing what you drive. The next time that new car smell hits you in a showroom, ask yourself what it is actually the smell of. For most people, it is the smell of a retirement quietly burning down to nothing.